wait. The show starts now. Hello, and welcome to PWD Allies podcast. My name is Brent Frayne. I'm the host. Today, the show is about nothing. Zero. Nothing. It's what it's about. It's just about nothing. It's nothing. So stay tuned to today's show as we're going to talk about absolutely nothing. I mean, that's what it's all about. Everything seems to be about nothing these days. There's nothing going on. There's no transit between Victoria and Duncan. I mean, Cowichan Valley. I mean, there's nothing in the BC budget for PWD. Maybe there is. Maybe that is about something. I don't know. We'll be discussing that. There's so many topics about nothing. Yeah. So, I mean, thanks everyone for tuning in to today's show. I hope you enjoyed today's show. It's not going to be a super long one, but just enough to get the popcorn out and, maybe grab a cup of coffee. I got my coffee right here.
I had mine earlier, so.
Yeah. And today's about nothing, like no sleep. I mean, I got maybe 3 hours sleep.
Oh, because of your neighbors again.
My lovely neighbors. Yes. They're just trying to make my life a living hell so that I will move so that the corporate landlord can make more money. It's all about money. It's all about nothing. Speaking of that, before we get the show started, I went to go and look at an apartment a few days ago. Wow. It was all nothing. That's for sure. Wishy-washy. Manager said one price for one unit, another price for another unit, and then we did the reverse about the price. And then started dropping the price down, then put the price up. And then got all confused about the date that I wanted the unit for. I said, I have to give 30 days notice. Then, oh, no, you don't. No. I said, well, I want it for April 1st. Oh, no, you just give your notice in. You don't have to give your 30 days notice, and you can revoke it at any time. You write it till the end of the month. If they can't rent your place, then you're not liable next month. And then you can just revoke it. Well, hello. Fast check on that one. I talked to my corporate landlord about the whole scenario. Guess what? If I was to do what say that manager wanted me to do, my manager said, no, I would not revoke your notice in tenancy. Mm-hmm. So guess what would happen there? I would then be homeless.
Yeah. Right? Like you were sharing with me things that the manager was saying and doing, and and it blows my mind. I mean, you talk about. We talk about landlords all the time that, there's the good landlords out there and there's the bad actor landlords out there. And I could tell that this landlord that you were seeing the other day was one of those bad actor landlords. Like, I don't know how in the bleep she got to be a landlord, but you could just tell she had no business. She had no business being a landlord.
I was beyond flustered. I mean, Sonjia and myself decided to go and take a look, at a place. We had made arrangements with the manager. We had seen the same place earlier in the month, and said, well, think about it. If you want to come and see it, once it's renovated, or if you just want to maybe take another look, give me a call. And so I did, and we went in and took a look around. I had two questions myself. Sonjia had one question. One was about square footage. Another one was just confirming that the date that we wanted the unit for was April 1st. And the other one was about the price. And the manager literally beyond freaked out and started raising her voice and said, you guys both are asking me way too many things. I can't deal with it. Please stop. Please stop asking questions.
Don't overload me with questions.
And I was like, wow.
How dare you? How dare you ask questions?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Sonjia had said, well, we always pay our rent on time. And the response back on that one,
Yeah.
well, everyone, to listen to this part.
Yeah.
The response was, well, we always pay our rent on time. I just wanted to let you know that. Yeah, yeah, and that's fine. That's fine. She said drug dealers pay their rent on time too.
Well,
As I heard that, like,
she even
wow.
went further than that, Brent. She says, don't tell me that. She says, remember,
Yeah,
like that's
yeah,
she first
yeah,
said, don't tell me that. She says, even drug dealers pay their rent on time. I could care less about that. She says,
yeah. That's exactly
yeah,
it. Yeah, yeah. But I,
which is incredulous to me because if you were a good landlord,
yeah,
you would actually care about the people that you're renting to.
yeah. Potential tenants. Like, I mean, that scares people away.
You want your tenants to say, I pay my rent on time, not I don't care. I don't care because even dealers pay their rent on time.
Oh,
That's a stupid thing to say.
well,
Really stupid.
yeah. It was really stupid because the manager said, "Well, I hear every excuse in the book, the reasons why people have trouble paying the rent, or the reasons, what the information they want to provide me, and you're giving me too much information, and I haven't even asked anything." So she was actually going right off the deep end, and
Yeah.
I thought, "Oh, and I want to consider renting here, like." Yeah, what's going on here? And then so she showed us another unit that we originally saw. It was still looked like there was some more renovations that need to be done. And then she says, by the way, a guy passed away in here, so we're just airing it out for a month. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Well, okay. Well, that's yeah. She shouldn't be really telling the a new tenant that information. Like,
Well, I
yeah.
mean, you actually probably should. I don't
Well, I
know.
mean, well, it's just the way that she came across on it, and she says, "I have
Yeah.
to do some more renovations in here," and that's yeah. And I said, "Then that one's going for," she says, "Oh, that one's going for $1,600." I said, "Oh, okay, so it's going for 1,600. Yeah, March 1st."
It's cheaper because somebody died in it.
Yeah, and I said, "Well, we
Yeah.
need it for April 1st." She goes, "Well, it's March 1st." She goes, "So you could just go and pay proration for 15 days." I mean, the owner will hold it for 15 days, but they won't hold it for a month. I said, so if I put a security deposit down on it, you will hold it till April 1st. No, the owner's in it to make money, not lose money. It's a business. The
Yeah.
owner wants to make money, not lose it, and that's how business works. You're just a number. You mean nothing to the company.
See,
And I thought, oh,
that attitude from her is just it's mind blowing to me because
yeah,
I mean, when you were telling me all this, like I told you, like a good landlord, they care, like realizes that they're investing a trust in a tenant,
hmm,
and you it's a
it
two
goes
way
to,
it goes
yeah,
two ways, right?
yeah,
The landlord is investing trust in a tenant,
hmm,
and the tenants, you and Sonia, are investing trust in the landlord.
hmm,
And the way the landlord was speaking and acting,
hmm,
she was violating all kinds of crap, right? Like
yeah. Well,
there was no trust there. It's just like, like it was kind of like this unspoken thing, she was kind of telling you like it's a business, and like almost saying like I may f you over at some point.
yeah, yeah, pretty much. That's what kind
Just
of
be
was.
prepared that I may f you over at some point. I mean,
That's what was kind of going through my mind
you
at the
don't
time,
you
especially
don't
about the
yeah.
proration part too. And when she started talking about proration, 15 days, and I said, "Well, I'm Sonia." Well, Sonia, she had said to me, like, yeah, like I don't know, like my vibes. I'm picking up on vibes here, and so she said to the manager, "Well, we're on disability. We're both on disability." She goes, "I get that," and she says, "And that's fine. I mean, if it works for you, great. But if it doesn't work for you, like, it's March 1st." And I said, "Well, again, we need it for April 1st." She goes, "Well, 15 days, you could pay that proration." I said, "Well, there's no way that the government's going to basically give us 15 days of proration."
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I don't know. You figure it out. And if it works good for you, get back to me. So she says, "Well, come with me." I'm thinking, well, where she's going to show us another unit or something. She took us up to the manager's floor where she is. She says, just wait in the hallway. I'll be right back. I need to look at paperwork to confirm that these are the numbers, because the gentleman passed away in the unit, and I have to get all his paperwork done for just for liability issues, etc. Okay, why are you telling me all this stuff? Like, I don't need to. I'm just a potential tenant. I don't need to know all this information. Yeah. So, and she starts telling me, well, you should talk to your corporate landlord and talk to your property manager and all these other people, and passing the buck. And it was just like stuff that I already knew. And she's, I've been a manager for 33 years. I know my stuff.
Yeah, you could have said, and not a good one.
Well, and when I mentioned to my corporate manager about it, and she's like, yeah, just so you know that manager is totally wrong, completely wrong. They should not have told you a lot of that information. Like some of it, yes, maybe that a person passed away, fine, right? But I mean, it should not have gone. She probably didn't have to tell you a lot of the details. I'm like, no, to scare away the tenant, right? Especially about the drug dealer. I mean, wow, like drug dealing, like, well, okay, like
you don't say shit like that. You just don't.
No.
Yeah.
I
mean, I said a comment, and I don't care. I'm going to say it again. Like I said this to you. It was like she had rated her own safe supply drug. That she was high on drugs herself or something. The way she was acting, you were.
It almost seemed that way.
You were retelling everything to me, and I was like, wow, that was crazy.
Yeah, and I just couldn't believe what we both were hearing. I was just like, okay, I wanted to walk out of there, and so we were waiting in the hallway with Sonjia. We were waiting there, and I said, well, I don't know what to, like, we were ready to walk away. Like, she went into her unit. I mean, we could have just walked away and that was it. But we figured just, okay, kind of curious to see what she was going to say. But we were anxious to get out of there. As soon as she went back in her unit and she says, well, thanks. Let me know. So we went down the stairwell. I didn't even know where the stairwell is, right there. Oh, there's the stairwell. So we went down and we're careful with those stairs, right? And like, wow, we just barreled out of that building in a hurry. Like, wow. That's when I contacted you, Neil, and I was just like, oh, this is beyond
just crazy. I didn't know, like, we're gonna talk about the throne speech now probably, but just before we do that, I just wanted to make a quick program announcement that we're almost up to 3,300 subscribers right now. Like, for whatever reason, like it's been, we're on year 3, right? And in the 2 and a bit years that I've been doing this podcast with you, like, I'll usually kick in about $25 a month, roughly, or maybe $50 every couple months on advertising, and it helps drive the viewership sometimes, and it's been helping for the first couple of years, off and on. But I did basically the same thing this time, and for whatever reason, it's just blown up. Like, I've just all of, like, there's so much traffic now. It's really good.
It is.
I'm really happy. So it seems.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, it's great. Like, we love it. So I just wanted to make that announcement that I'm really happy that it's blowing up. But I wanted to as well. We're going to do a screen share and talk about the throne speech, the BC throne speech. So I didn't know if you wanted to, start there. And I'll do the screen share now.
Yeah, when you're doing the screen share, I'll just give you my overview, and then we can kind of chime in about the throne speech. When I was watching the throne speech, I was kind of expecting like an overview of how BC's going, based on the economy, the outlook for British Columbians going forward for, this fiscal year, 2025 until 2026. That's how they do the throne speech. Just kind of the outlook of like a prosperity, right? I mean, you're looking at kind of the outlook of an overall view. Like throne speech are always historic of, yeah, it's nothing. There, it's like a nothing. Like like that's what we named the show today. Today's about nothing.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah,
empty calorie
yeah,
stuff,
yeah.
right?
But the throne speech has always been historically about just there's now not a lot of meat and potatoes in it. It's just a show around it all. Is an overview of what to look forward to, maybe in the upcoming budget or in the session going forward. It was about was the presidential, the newly elected president in the United States.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and it was about the tariffs, and yeah, we can talk more about that.
Well, this is what I wanted. This is why I wanted to share this article. It's from Rob Shaw, and Rob Shaw is the legislative reporter. We have to say for the BC legislature, and I just wanted to read parts of. I'm not going to read the whole thing, of course, but I just want to read parts of it. And he starts the article off saying, "Stop me if you've heard this one before. The BC government delivered a throne speech to open the legislature that was big on rhetoric, low on details, and a sign, critics say, that it's out of ideas." And then he goes on, it's a familiar broken record, like the annual political Groundhog Day. Yeah. So that's the.
Did I see my shadow?
Yeah, and then he goes on. I'll spare you the trouble of reading it. There's nothing there. And again, that's why we named the show about nothing, a show about nothing.
About nothing.
But so he says there's nothing there, no new ideas, no new promises, no new programs or services to address the doctor shortage, ER closures, prolific offenders, street crimes, housing, and cost of living concerns.
Yeah, zero.
Instead, it was a 18-page creative writing exercise. I love that. 18-page creative writing exercise in political bombast. Listen to this. Using the Second World War as some sort of tortured metaphor for the resilience British Columbians will need to fight off U.S. President Donald Trump's tariffs. I mean, that is so bang on and so on the nose. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, people on disability assistance, income assistance, seniors, veterans, people on any kind of fixed incomes, are suffering in legislative poverty in British Columbia. We have a doctor shortage, we have a nurse shortage, we have shortages everywhere, a transportation network. My gosh, they should have been at least mentioning a lot of these other aspects of what the government's plans are as an overview going forward. How are they going to, how are they going to maybe tackle a lot of these issues? My gosh, we still have and I talked about this on the podcast a lot. Because it's one thing that I'm really passionate about is about transportation, about accessibility, and making sure people can get from point A to point B without a bunch of hurdles and, red tape, bureaucratic BS, right? And that's what it is, folks. I'll call a spade, right? Because it's all the football game back and forth between Victoria and Cowichan. And oh no, you provide this service. No, you provide it. And I got into big discussions with both jurisdictions. You know what? Work together, folks. Like provide a basic service, right? As former Premier John Horgan would always say to me, Brent, transportation is your bare bone essential service, like transit. If you don't have the wheels, man, he goes, and he always his line goes, man, if you don't have the wheels, man, how do you keep them rolling? I go, so that's a good one. True, right?
Well, I just wanted to before we put this article to bed, and we'll go back to full screen. I just wanted to quote another couple of things that was said in this article. Again, it's Rob Shaw, and he says the speech was all about vague platitudes and aspirational niceties, the political equivalent of unflavored oatmeal. And I love that.
Yeah.
This is brilliant. And the last thing I'll say, and again, I'm not trying to read the whole article, but the last thing I'll say is, I think everybody here in Canada knows that we model our government after after the United Kingdom, right? I mean,
Hmm.
that's why we call it a throne speech, because it's like we used to have the Queen, we used to be under the Queen Elizabeth, and now we're under King Charles, um, and but what was I going to say? Oh, so basically the way they do it in the United Kingdom though is very different than the way we do it here in Canada. Like we said, it's a bunch of just empty calorie. Like let's talk this empty calorie speech for an hour. But in the United Kingdom, what they actually do is they basically talk for maybe 5 or 10 minutes, and then the rest of the speech is about these are the bills that we're actually going to be releasing this year. So they
Oh,
actually give a preview of
oh, wow.
all the bills that will be released in the coming year. Like this is what we plan to do this year. They'll give it like a little summary of, okay, this bill number whatever
Hmm.
is going to tackle crime,
Hmm.
and give a little bit of a summary on that, and they'll say this bill here is going to tackle disability poverty, and this bill here is going to tackle the health issues and the hospital overcrowding or whatever it is, right? And they'll list all the bills that are going to come in the coming year, and it's a complete summary of what the government's going to do. And
Hmm.
but here in BC, we don't do that, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
so I'll close that out, and we'll go back to full screen here. One second.
Yeah,
There we
and
go.
and also in our BC legislature, they pick a speaker, and before the legislative session actually can begin, the lieutenant governor will come in and say, "Well, it's tradition, right?" They'll say, "Well, you don't have a speaker, find a elect a speaker, and then I'll come back in the afternoon." It's just a tradition they do. And
Yeah.
so how it stems from the way it is now, way back. I mean, you're talking, I don't know. I mean, somebody could probably say how many hundreds of years that is, but it goes way back to when the speaker is assigned. They would drag the
Yeah, they
speaker
would they would
along.
drag they would
Yeah,
drag the speaker to the seat.
kicking and screaming and
Yeah,
biting and
yeah,
hollering and
yeah,
no, because nobody ever wanted to be the speaker.
yeah.
No. And yeah, there was big problems back way back when, and so now it's all in humor of saying, well, come with me, and okay,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Now it comes down to the point of how do we look after each other in British Columbia going forward? How we look after each other in Canada going forward with all so much uncertain times. It's all a lot of political rhetoric, right? It's excuses from political parties, reasons why not to do something. I always say we need to be proactive and actually look at solutions and ideas, come together and basically just put all your ideas on the table and then say, okay, so pros and cons. Okay, that's good, that's not good,
Hmm.
and really come to a conclusion of how do we make things better, rather than it's all that infighting with political parties. Well, if you vote for me, carrot trick, you vote for me, yeah, I've got your back, and then you get in and they do a 360, and people go, oh man, okay, not this again.
Well, the other
Yeah,
the other thing we can talk about, Brent, we're gonna kind of go fast today, I think.
yeah,
But
yeah,
let's
yeah.
let's go through and let's talk about the safe supply issue now,
Oh yes, yes.
because that's a big one,
Hot
right?
Oh yeah, that's a
And
hot one.
and I just wanted to bring up a couple of things on Twitter here, and I'm consulting my phone for this. Um, you had let's see, I'm just going to bring up my notes here as well.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, there's Elenore Sturko, and,
Yes.
and and she's the shadow minister for public safety.
Hmm.
And basically, for 2 years, she's been saying that this whole safe supply drug thing is there's a big problem with it. She knew that there was like this safe supply was being trafficked by drug dealers. I mean, there was this, report that was kind of under wraps for 2 years.
Oh.
But kind of everybody kind of knew that there was something, something not right there, right? And so she was very vocal for like, basically 2 years because again we I have to keep calling out Eby because it's the truth, right? It was both Eby and Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. They both loved the idea of legalizing drug possession. They thought it's a great idea. Let's legalize drug possession, and problem solved, right? Well, it's been a nightmare. I mean, there's been so many more deaths, and
Yes. It's so tragic.
It was a complete cluster bleep. What they did.
Yeah, kind of like to add on to that, and I mentioned this one day just recently on the podcast, and before, I had an old friend of mine. He used to work in construction, and so he was taking prescription medication. Somehow he became addicted to that medication, and then somehow I found out through somebody else that knew him that I knew. And actually had sent me a message and said he had passed away. What it was is that he had got his, and I guess someone that he knew or that down the line. Anyway, he managed to get that prescription at a stronger dosage. Apparently, they said it was going to take the pain away. Well, it ended up being toxic, and it actually killed him. And so when they mentioned in the legislature that everybody's touched by, in one way or another in life, friends or family. Like I can vouch for that. Yeah. And it's tragic, right? Because there's just too many people that are losing their lives.
That's my problem too. And I know it's a problem for a lot of people, but when they say safe supply, that's the equivalent of saying friendly fire. When they talk about friendly fire in war times, I mean, it's like, friendly fire is when an ally kills another ally. You get basically, your own army kills each other by accident, kind of thing. The end result is that somebody dies, but because they call it friendly fire, it's supposed to make it nicer, or because it's safe supply. It's somehow supposed to make the drug safer. But is it really? I mean, it's
that's the
still
thing.
Going to kill you. It's still going to kill you.
Yeah, I mean, and people will see that as a kind of a perception, around them, going, oh, okay, it's safe. I mean, maybe originally they get it from the pharmacist, and somehow it ends up going and getting traded into other drugs, maybe on the street. I don't know. Like, I'm not a pro on knowing all this.
Kids that were 10 years old. That were 10 years old were getting this fentanyl.
I heard about this. Yes.
I mean, that's just. I mean, again, as a parent, that's disgusting. Yeah. That is disgusting. And we have to say, I'll say it again. The fact that happened is squarely on the shoulders of Justin Trudeau and David Eby, because both of them together, they love the idea. They love the idea of let's legalize drug possession. They loved it.
Well, especially
we have to say that. We have to say that, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, there's people that are homeless. I mean, maybe they've lost their home. They've lost their just their sense of well-being. No fault of their own in many cases. Because everybody that is homeless, I mean, they have their own story of why they're homeless, and so they end up on the street. Maybe they're drug addicted from painkillers that they've taken. Then you get drug dealers that come along, and then they're going to say, well, I'll swap this out. Here, have this, and then it becomes fatal for them.
Yeah.
In some cases, I've heard that. In some cases, I don't know. Like I know Elenore Sturko, she's very passionate about this. And there's a lot of MLAs that are very passionate about wanting to see, people's well-being being like better. I mean, yeah, but it being a cover-up of a story. I mean, I don't understand why the government would. They knew this report was going to come out. Why wait an hour? I guess my question is, why wait an hour before the Legislative Assembly is to begin yesterday?
Yeah.
And they come out with a press release saying, "Oh, well, we're going to now change the system so that new patients, new patients are going to be able to go to a pharmacist or a practitioner, whoever it is, and have it witnessed only in front of them, and take that medication."
So that's the change now. We have to clarify that now. That's the big change that they're just announcing it now, and it's all because of Elenore Sturko and the BC Conservatives. We have to give credit, because if it wasn't for the BC Conservatives putting pressure on David Eby, this would never happen. This would never happen. But now,
here's the other question, though, Neil, is that's first for new patients. Now, the other patients I heard are, I call them patients, but I mean, the people that are addicted to that medication or need the help. There's many occasions, and I'm not going to say people are all addicted or not addicted to it, but basically the new people who need to have the witness only, they're going to have to go through that process. Now, what about everybody else that,
they're not going to worry about that right now.
We're going to deal with that later.
We'll deal with that later.
Yeah. So we kind of keep that door open, right?
But at least it's a first step, right? And like I said, that first step never would have happened. It never would have happened if it wasn't for the BC Conservatives calling it out.
A lot of pressure.
It was a crap load of pressure. And that was the only reason why the BC government caved on it, is because of pressure from the BC Conservatives.
I mean, this has been going on for decades and decades, and I don't understand why any government in power, going from decades, like way back from like the NDP to the Liberals, and then the Conservatives, and then we got the NDP. Every government has allowed this to blossom to the way it is now. I remember walking downtown from where I lived, or ride my bike downtown. I never saw any of this, anything going on.
Yeah. And
it's just allowed to just blossom. I bumped into one of my neighbors who I grew up around. And one day, last time when I was over out in Langley, and she says, Brent, I've never in my life, she's getting up there in age. She says, I've never in my life seen such a disgrace in the city. And she said, you remember when you were just a kid riding your bike down, and your mom was, you be careful, Brad, you be careful. Yeah, I will. So I took all the rural roads down. But she remembered that. And I said, and she said, what happened? What happened in society? And that's a question I need to ask the government. What happened?
There's another good quote here. Let me see if I can,
while Neil's looking this up, is, I guess the question I have is to even our listeners: are you living in legislative poverty? Are you living well below a certain standard of living that you used to be able to just get more value for your dollar, and now you're finding that that the dollar is not stretching? Imagine being on PWD assistance through your province. So if you're struggling, imagine people that are now even below that. And then the government goes a year, skips a year, and then says, hey, well, we raised the rates in so many times since we've been in government. It's all theoretical. It's all political. I always say, you give people the most amount that to thrive. Give people the amount to thrive. I can tell you where to cut. There's lots of areas to cut. Right?
How about the pay rate? How about the pay raises? Start there.
$18,000 for all
MLA pay raises,
material aids, up to $60,000, and then you got all on the news hour. I keep turning the channel and I hear the same stories. Oh, well, mayor of wherever is in charge of that community, all their other meetings, and they're getting paid all these stipends, and they're getting paid for all these other meetings, and MLAs don't get paid for all that. They go to these meetings. They put a lot of time in, everybody. For what we see on the news, what we hear, what goes on, and there's a lot that they do. I mean, from any political party, there is a lot of work that they have to do. They got meetings, nonstop meetings. I mean, Neil and I can vouch for that. Trying to get them scheduled to come onto the podcast, it can be very challenging because they're so busy.
And I do want to say that I've reached out to both. There's the new MLA, Tara Armstrong. She's the MLA for Kelowna, and she's the shadow minister for social development and poverty reduction. She's the shadow minister.
Yeah, I'd love to get her on.
And we're going to get her on soon. She's already said, she'd love to come on, but of course it's the very beginning of the legislature. So she wanted to get her feet kind of grounded first. So she's going to come on at some point. And I also put a call out to Elenore Sturko too. So I'm hoping both will come on at some point, because I would love to have them both on. But I wanted to, there was a tweet that I found on Twitter here, or X.
I still call it Twitter.
Yeah, and
sorry, Elon, but I call it Twitter. Everybody calls it Twitter.
And it's
it's
from Boris Butcher, and I don't know who this Boris Butcher is, but I still love the tweet, so I wanted to repeat it here. And he says, "Thank you, Elenore, for standing up and shouting out that David Eby and his NDP, who are alone responsible for turning the safe streets of our once beautiful province into crime-ridden cesspits of drugs, filth, needles, death, depravity, and poverty."
It's all interconnected.
And I just wanted to wrap up, because we're talking about drugs, but we also have to talk about crime. The drugs and drugs and crime are related, right? They're related like cousins.
Hugely connected.
And we have to say again that David Eby, before he was premier, he was also the Attorney General for about 5 years, a little over 5 years. And so he was kind of responsible for, keeping the crime, he was kind of the watchdog on crime, one of his duties. And he also handled the housing file for a while too, we have to say.
Yeah. Yes.
But one of his duties as the Attorney General is to, keep an eye on the crime and that kind of thing.
Speaking of that, is downtown Victoria. I just heard in the news, downtown of Victoria, the capital city of British Columbia, Shoppers Drug Mart has made an announcement.
That's what I wanted to get to, Brent.
Yeah,
that's what I wanted.
They're going to be requiring their employees to have body cameras on, because the crime level has spiraled so out of control that the safety of their employees and the customers coming in, people do not feel safe going in there. I don't feel safe about going in there. I mean, anyone who knows the downtown area of Victoria, government, please, okay, I want you please to now look at this, Mayor. I have full respect for you. I know your hands are tied at different levels. I mean, there's so much going on. I want you all work together, clean up the downtown area, because I go down there a lot to transfer onto buses. And I tell you, I'm having to literally trip over people that are laid across the sidewalk as you're walking along. As a person who is visually impaired, think about that. Okay. I mean, accessibility for me, and not just for me, but for tourists. You get tourists coming off the bus, and I hear them all the time. What is going on here? Okay, that's coming from tourists. Okay, well, if they're saying what is going on here, they're saying disgraceful for the government to clean up this mess. That's not a good look.
And again, this was David Eby's brilliant idea of catch and release, right? We'll catch these people and then we'll just release them again.
They released them onto the sidewalks.
And just think about that now you have employees that are wearing body cameras. I mean, that's just crazy to me. I mean, this is what police officers wear body cameras, but now we're getting employees of Shoppers Drug Mart to wear body cameras. I mean, it's just stupid.
And even Superstore, the parent company, Galen Weston's, the main anchor stores, or Superstore. I mean, and Loblaws, right? But Shoppers Drug Mart. It's to me, it doesn't even make any sense. I couldn't even have fashioned this decades ago, where
Yeah.
there was a homeless person. When I mentioned that, there's people stretched out on the sidewalks. I mean, everybody has their own lived experience situation, what they're going through, and I just want to see people housed. I want to see people get the proper treatment that they need
Yeah.
to maybe work with their addiction issues that they have. I mean, no fault of their own. They're human beings,
Yeah.
and I wish that the politicians would recognize that is like take care of one another,
Yeah.
take care of seniors. I mean, there's seniors on the street. They just don't have enough money for market housing. They've lost their subsidized housing for whatever reason. Now they're homeless.
Yeah.
So now they have no fixed address. How about our veterans? Is that how we take care of it?
Well,
Take care of them?
the veterans get clawed back too, right?
Yeah.
They get their veterans pensions clawed back, just like my survivors pension, because
Exactly.
that's the that's the nice thing to do, is to claw back,
Yeah.
claw back
And-
pensions,
Yeah, I mean, and market rent. I mean, the lowest market rent in Victoria, you're looking at $1,800. When I mentioned earlier in the podcast, 1,600. Well, you get what you pay for.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine that was living hell. I mean,
Yeah.
I would never rent from that corporate landlord. I think she should be pulled away from that position.
Definitely. But I also just wanted to quickly mention too, Brent, is
Yeah,
again, like my heart goes out to anybody that is homeless for sure.
yeah,
And anybody that's addicted to drugs. I mean, it's a terrible thing. And again, you said it's almost kind of no fault of their own where people get
Yeah.
addicted because maybe they had a workplace injury and then they got addicted to a drug, and then they had to get prescribed a harder and harder drugs, to cope with the pain or whatever it is.
yeah. To numb the pain. Yeah,
Yeah, and so you feel for people like that, but I also have to just speak reality here too. And I've mentioned this before a few times on the podcast. Is like just in my own building here. It's been a while. It's been a while now, but for like last year, we had a very serious problem with. There was about 3 or 4 people that were homeless that were breaking into our underground parking. And lighting fires down in our parkade.
Oh no.
And a couple times the fires really got out of control, I have to say, and we had to call the fire department 2 times. And again,
wow.
this is a fairly small, condo, but there's 40 families that live in this condo, including me. There's 40 families that live here, and for 2 times the Sturko Fire Department had to be called because of fires being set by homeless people down in the garage. And let's remind people what garages have. They have cars full of gasoline.
Yeah.
They have cars full of gasoline, and there was fires being set by drug addicted homeless people.
That would have been catastrophic.
Not only were they disposing their garbage down there, needles and they were defecating down there, so there was all kinds of garbage and human feces down there and needles. Not only that, but like I said, they were setting fires down there. So you're endangering the lives of 40 families. Again, we're only talking about this my condo, one condo.
Oh yeah, exactly. Imagine.
I mean, I'm like multiply that by how many
all around the area.
Yeah. I mean, just think about it, Brent. So you have like somebody sets a fire because they're drug addicted and homeless, and you're gonna like one day, knock on wood, hopefully it doesn't happen, but one day there's gonna be a fire that's gonna kill 40 or some odd families because of some stupid fire that was set by a homeless person addicted to drugs.
Yeah, and then the embers from that fire is going to spread over to another building, and then we got to get a whole bunch of buildings going.
Yeah,
and all the vehicles there. I mean, all the gasoline, and boom, it just be like a major bomb going off.
And I'll say it again. It falls on the shoulders of Justin Trudeau and David Eby, because they both love the idea. Of let's legalize drugs and let's do this whole catch and release shit.
Yeah, that bill, the federal bill, I remember when it was brought to the federal government's attention to basically fix that bill. They should have fixed the bill properly, not just tweak it. They should have fixed the bill properly, federally, and we wouldn't be having all these problems. Also, the main problem too is we wouldn't be having the problems if the federal government would not have disbanded the all the security at our ports. We got the Vancouver port and we got our Delta port. And back in 1997, folks, 1997, I did my research. We had lots of security around there. We didn't have all these problems.
Yeah.
And what 1% going forward of the amount of container ships are actually checked. 1%. Why do I know that? Because I was actually in college at the time, and we studied this stuff, and I learned that stuff back then. From my professor was telling me only 1% of these container ships are actually checked. 1%, and I remember saying that in class. One? Why only one? Because the federal government disbanded it. Okay, so that's going back some time here. Why has it not been fixed? And guess what? Now I hear on the news we got all these drug cartels. They're running amok. They're running amok throughout the country. And then they wonder why we have a problem. Well, there's a problem there that can be fixed. Easy peasy, fixed the problem, federal government and David Eby. Okay, like this is just nonsense. Like that's why we say the show is about nothing, because nothing is getting done.
Yeah. And so let's take the last like maybe 10 minutes, Brent, and just talk about the nothing burger that PWD are going to get in this year's budget potentially.
Yeah.
We're probably going to get a big fat zero, right?
Yeah.
Another nothing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when the BC government formed with the alliance of the Green Party back in 2017, it was great. It started out great. They looked at the basic income pilot project that the Green Party had brought forward with the NDP. One of our guests that we've had on many times talked about this, and I'll get him on in a future show. Tom Pogson, he talks a lot about that. He knows more of the breakdown of it. I'm just giving you an overview. Tom will dive more into it on another show. But anyway, there was a pilot project that the BC NDP wanted to do back in 2017. So a little bit of a history here. Now, they had 3 people on a panel. There was 2 of them that actually really wanted it. One person, basically, wasn't so much in agreement. So anyway, they decided to scrap the idea.
Well, let's say this, Brent. They designed it to fail, right? I mean, they had one person that liked the idea of basic income, and they had 2 people that didn't like the idea of basic income.
Yeah, exactly.
And they said, okay, you guys study it.
Yeah.
The 2 guys that don't like it, and the one guy that does. And you guys come to an agreement, and we'll see who wins out. The 2 people that don't want it, and the one person that does. We'll see who gets the majority vote.
And so that's exactly it.
So no surprise it got killed off, right? No surprise.
Yeah, and and the rates were like, they, as everyone knows, as PWD and BC, the rates were frozen for like so many years. So when the NDP got in, they said, okay, well, here's $100. We'll get you going here. John Horgan said, okay, I'm going to commit. I promise I'm going to commit to an immediate increase. And he did. He followed through with it. He said, has $100 to get you going. He actually didn't even make people wait till the budget. He actually got it going right away. As soon as he got in, that was his first thing that he said to do. Yeah. And I thought, wow, like this is great. So people are like, wow, this is great. This is, someone's finally got our back. Because John was very passionate. He wanted to make things better for people in general. He said he couldn't make everybody happy, and he wasn't going to try. He says, I'm not going to make everybody happy. I'm going to make people pissed off at me. I'm going to make people happy with me. I'm just John. I said, okay. And so going forward, the one increase, and that was in 2017. So they gave it early instead of the 2018 budget. The 2018 budget came along, and I thought, okay, there's going to be an increase. Oh, why was there no increase? Well, because we actually gave money back as an option for a bus pass, or you don't have to have a bus pass. You can take the money or don't have a bus pass. Okay, so we talked about that before.
Yeah.
So 2019 came $50 increase. Yeah, that's it, $50. Yeah,
But basically,
not more.
cost of living increase.
Yeah, so there's a, if there's towards your market rent maybe, or whatever you want to pay it toward. It depends on how high your rent was. But of course, back then rents weren't outrageously high. They were getting up there, but
they were getting up there. Yeah.
I mean, but for what they are now, it's just beyond ridiculous. So, and then of course, then as we know, in 2020, COVID hit. Now we had the supplement that was given to British Columbians as a pilot project. And they were going to just wait and see how it was going, how it would better people's lives. I mean, oh, it's better in your life. Okay, well, I guess we're going to take it away now because it was actually benefiting your life. You can make proper decisions. You can live where you want to live, buy the proper food supplements that maybe you don't qualify through the Ministry of Social Development Poverty Reduction, because you have to have a certain medical condition in order to get certain supplements. And if you don't have that condition, you don't get that supplement. Meanwhile, you may need that supplement, but your doctor may say you do not have that condition, and you don't want that condition just to get your supplement. And I remember my family doctor saying, Brent, you don't have that condition. Meanwhile, I do recommend that you need to have supplements, but you don't have that condition to meet what the government's telling you that to get it. I go, well, they told me to apply for all the supplements, but you don't qualify. You don't have Crohn's disease. Like I'm just giving one example here, like all these different things. No, right. You're just you have your conditions, and that's something that you live with all your life, and you work with it the best way you can. But you don't want to have all these other conditions added on. I mean, you may get them later in life, you may not. I mean, knock on wood, right? But your government telling you apply for all these supplements just so you could get more. Well, I can't legally check off Brent has this and this and this and this and this, because then I will lose my as a practitioner, I will lose my license. Well, no, I don't want you to do that. Well, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to lie. He says the government lies enough already. He says, so why would I want to lose my profession? So going forward, I guess my point is that give people the supplements, add it to their check, let them buy what they need to buy. So when that COVID supplement was out there, I was able to buy different things that I need. I thought, wow, this is great. And then the government said, well, you know what, this is only a temporary measure. It was always supposed to be temporary. We're going to take it away, but we're going to give you back. We're going to cancel it, but you know what? Instead of canceling it, we're going to let you keep 175 of it. Yeah. So John Horgan had told us that story, and we sat on that information for a long time. Sonjia and myself, we were told not to say nothing. And I had other PWD advocates asking, well, is it going to stay? I mean, everybody's freaking going, like, is this bettering my life? I said, I don't know. I was told, no, you can't say nothing. He didn't want us to say anything. And then, of course, 2 years later, we get back $125 of it. 2 years later, after we had to move because we couldn't afford to keep our place in Langley, so we had to move to Victoria. Yeah. And thank God.
And if they had just left it,
if we had left it, we would have still been in Langley. Yeah. We would have made that proper financial decision. Yes, we probably would have maybe found a different place, because it was the unit that we had to move into was more expensive than we originally had, no fault of our own. But we would have looked at options. We would have had more options, better transportation. Now we're stuck in Victoria, as I mentioned. And so, and like the last increase that we got in the BC budget was in 2023, that 125, but it only went to some PWD. And I want to emphasize some, not all. But originally when that COVID supplement was out, it went to all PWD. But now,
and again, that's one of the reasons why they have to get rid of that shelter thing, right? They just have to kill it off.
Yeah,
they just have to kill it off because
and I've mentioned before, like over and over, that's shelter. I mean, your check is your check. You get it. You pay your rent. You pay your bills. You buy your food if you're lucky to buy food. Not to go to the food bank but at least buy some food, and maybe save up enough if you can out of your check. So that you can go on a travel trip, and that's what we did every so often. We look forward to that. This year is going to be a little bit more challenging. I don't know what's going to come out of this year financially, because as long as we stay where we're living, I mean, we can still accomplish I guess extracurricular activities, I'll call it, or a travel segment with Brent or breaking with Brent somewhere else, where you can enjoy life. If we move somewhere and we pay much higher rent, it's going to put us into a very precarious situation, and this won't be a good situation, right?
Well, again, let's end the podcast with a
Yeah.
very a dose of Captain Obvious. Is that 85 to 90% of all PWD in the province of British Columbia are paying market rents.
Absolutely.
85 to 90% are paying market rents. Only 10 to 15%, I always say about around 12%, but let's give them the benefit of the doubt and say anywhere between 10 to 15% are lucky to be getting some sort of subsidy rent, like some sort of like BC housing or a rent subsidy. That's the province gives like 10 to 15% of PWD that rent subsidy or a BC housing, which is heavily subsidized. But for the rest of us, for the 85 to 90% of us, we're struggling on market rents.
Exactly.
And the government says, "Oh, that's fine. That's fine." You know, they have this program. You say it all the time with the Safers. They
could extend that over to for PWD market housing.
The seniors get it. The seniors get a Safers amount for the rent, but PWD get nothing. You and I, Brent, if we're in market housing, which I am, I mean, again, I'm lucky to own my place, but I still have to struggle to pay the mortgage. I'm still struggling to pay
which is still like the same thing as having to pay the market rent. It's struggling to do that. And I want to see that Safers program expanded over to market housing. I need the government to modernize that Safers program too, because when I lived with my mom decades ago, that Safers program was based on household income, and they never changed it. My mom even said, and I still remember her saying, it should not be based on household income. It should be based on the individual. So hello, this is coming from a senior who was on the program.
Yeah.
I even said back then, and now decades later, nothing's changed. And so I want to see that program modernized, where it's based on the individual in that household. Now, same as market housing, I want to see it expanded over to PWD in market housing. So now PWD, we can actually now qualify for that. We don't have to wait on a BC housing list, which is 20 years long.
It's 20 years long already. So
and like, counting plus 20 years plus. Yeah. And hey, people can live in the market housing where they want and in the community that they want too. Because right now, our corporate landlord had said, look, you have a budget basically based on how high your rent can go, like what you can afford. So if you blossom it too high, you're now going to be in a situation where you're going to keep cutting back and cutting back and cutting back. Where are you going to keep cutting back? I go, exactly. Right. Yeah. So last year, my manager said, you didn't get a rate increase from the government, right? In 2024, I go, yeah. And she goes, that still stands. I said, what? That still stands of the question I asked you to ask the premier. I go, I did. I asked them, why didn't you increase it? I said, yeah, it was a no burger answer, really. Yeah. I said, so this year, I said, now the question is again, are you going to increase the rates? I think it'd be $0. I think it'd be $0. Well, some advocates are calling for no less than $300 increase. Yeah. And yes, they should, because even minimum $300. If I had extra $300, I could put some of it toward market rent and another place I could move out of here, and some of it toward food, some of it to bills.
Well, again, let's go back to rent geared to income for a moment. Yep. RGI, it's called rent geared to income. Yep. Now, the model for rent geared to income, everybody should know this. The model for rent geared to income is 30% of your entire income. No more than 30% of your entire income should go towards rent.
DMHP says that.
That's the RGI model, right? Mm-hmm. So you have, again, people that are lucky enough to get subsidized rents. Yeah. They are paying 30% of their PWD check
Mm-hmm.
towards the rent. Now you had me crunch some numbers the other day,
Yeah,
Brent.
yeah,
You said, can you crunch some numbers for me, Neil, on what Sonjia and I are spending on our rents
yeah.
right now? Like, as a combined income between you and Sonjia,
Mm-hmm.
I worked it out to that you are putting 60%. Like, this is your combined
Yeah.
combined income of you two together.
Mm-hmm.
You both are spending 60% of your whole income is on rents. So
Mm-hmm.
that's double of what the RGI formula says, that
Mm-hmm.
it should be 30%. You are paying 60% of your entire income between the two of you is thrown towards rent. Mine is actually even higher than that.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I'm lucky. I'm lucky that I own my place. Don't get me wrong, but I'm actually burning through a whole shitload of money to just keep the roof over my head.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
And I had a person that was helping, every couple months, and I was grateful. We were beyond grateful. And unfortunately, that donor, it was just amazing. Like, she was just no questions asked. She said, "You just tell me what you want. As long as you don't run a Rolls Royce or anything like that, I have no problem helping." Right? She said, because you got to help. You got to help one another. You got to help. Fellow Canadians, right? And I thought, wow, um, something happened in her life where she became financially, um, financially stressed herself. So she was not able to help me out now. Now she's actually living in legislated poverty herself. Imagine that. I mean, go figure. Somebody who was actually helping not just myself, but apparently many other people is now living in legislated poverty, folks. It
We
can
have
happen to anybody at any
Yeah.
time.
I just wanted to quickly mention
Yeah.
we have Inga in chat.
Oh, hang on.
I always love it when Inga joins in the chat.
Yeah, me too.
And she says, for her, she's paying closer to somewhere between 65 to 70% of her entire income.
Mhm. On rent.
Of her entire income, 65 to 70% goes towards rent. And for me, it's probably actually over 70%. Actually,
Yeah.
like, for me, it's stupid. But
Well, yeah.
the reason I do it is because I know that if I lost this place, I would be more screwed
Hmm.
than I, So
Well, and there
that's
was
why I do it.
place I was
That's why I
looking.
hang on as much as I can.
Yeah, because there was a place we were looking at, and I mean, it was beautiful. It was a beautiful place, and it's not far from where we live right now, Neil. Like, it's really not far. And they want almost $1,900 for it per month.
Hmm.
Now, there's no way. Like, I mean, imagine that $1,900. That was a huge jump up from what we are now. Even our manager, and I mean, their interest is to make money for the company, right? However, they are looking at our needs, which I am so grateful. Like, they're not going to steer us wrong. Like, they treat us as not a number. They treat us as who we are, and they know our situation. And they says, I don't want to put you both into a financial distress. Sure, it's nice to look at units. We can show you lots of our buildings. Some buildings are better than other buildings on how they're managed. There's one that's, yeah, it's, yeah, now almost 19, few dollars shy of $1,900, right? Like, beautiful, all redone. I mean, everything. I thought, wow. She said you couldn't afford it. I mean, imagine. Again, imagine if it was $1,900 percentage to income. That would be.
Yeah.
I don't know what that would be
I
there.
don't know. I don't know. I don't really want to crunch the numbers right now because
No,
but well,
that would
I'll do it after the show.
that percentage would be
Yeah,
up there.
it'd be crazy. It'd be way up there.
Yeah. And of course, then the ministry would, you do a change of address, and here we go again with the BC ministry. We had that before, where we had to move from one unit in our building that we were living in Langley to another unit in the same building at the same address. The ministry worker came down on me like a ton of bricks and started questioning me. Why are you moving to a different unit number in the building at the same address and paying a lot more in market rent? Well, no fault of my own. Would you live in a unit where you can't even open up your doors or your window? You getting you're getting stenches of all sorts of different kind of drugs all floating up, the fumes of drugs coming into your unit. Oh my gosh, that's terrible.
Well,
It is.
here's another follow up comment from Inga again.
Yeah.
I already said that she's spending up to 70% of her entire assistance is on rent.
Yeah, not including
and she says the 70% is being put towards a 500 square foot place. 500 square feet. She's blowing through 70% of her entire income for 500 square feet. That's terrible.
I'm sorry, Inga.
For 500 square feet, she's burning through 70% of her income.
Yeah, government, come on.
That's terrible. That's disgusting. That's disgusting.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how the government can allow, the citizens in their province or across Canada to languish in pain and suffering, where they're sitting back and having everything just given to them. I mean, remember, you were elected officials. You're supposed to be there to represent the constituents in your riding, and as a government policies. That's what it is, everybody. It's not on who is running as your MLA in your area. Yes, they represent your needs, but if they don't want to, they're part of the government. They don't want to get the government to change that policy. We got a huge problem here. Right? So everybody should have a decent amount of space to live in. I mean, you can't be in tight quarters where you have to start throwing away furniture. I mean, you just finished buying something that cost you a lot of money. Oh, you got to toss it out because now you're in a tiny, tiny place. I mean, how much more tinier do they need to get?
Well, you know what happens when you're in a tiny place, confined? You start to develop health problems, right? And what happens when you develop health problems? The health budgets go through the roof. That's why we talk about, the cost of poverty is nuts.
Exactly.
The cost of poverty, crime, and drugs.
Yeah.
This poverty, crime, and drugs crap that's going on in the province right now. It all costs a shitload of money. Mm-hmm. And the government's saying, oh well. Well,
yeah. I mean, and they go ahead and give themselves. I mean, since I was a kid, I used to watch on TV here and there. I'd be kind of interested. Oh, what's going on? What's government, this and that. And maybe as a teenager, not as a kid, but watching this and that, and having them yelling at each other in the legislature. And this is interesting, right? And as years went on, I started realizing that governments weren't actually listening to people. They were actually just doing what they want to do to make it better for themselves, right? As time went on, certain things were getting done. I must say, yes, there were certain projects getting done, but each government would keep blaming each government. And I used to say to my mom, why do they keep arguing with each other? Oh, because it's, whoever's in government, they get paid more money than the other government. So they get mad because they want to be in government. So whoever's in government, they get a little bump up. Mm-hmm. Well, hello, folks. Guess what? In 30 years, I've never in my life seen any MLA, all of them, every single one of them, to get a $60,000 bump up on their pay.
It's the first time in the history of BC politics.
First
time in the history of BC politics. And again, Eby is the architect of all of that.
I mean, imagine, here's $60,000 on top of your base salary. And their base salary, I believe, is $119,000 as a base MLA. So another $60,000 on top of that. Mm-hmm. Plus their rates get tied to inflation every year, every April 1st. So I want to see PWD's rates tied to COLA, cost of living adjustment. Yeah. It shouldn't even be an option. It should automatically be done. Ontario does it. And people that are watching this right now, oh God, don't Brent, don't go down that pathway. Don't talk about Doug Ford. No, I'm not going to praise the guy. Definitely. If he was my premier right now, I'd be pretty pissed off too, because he's ignoring PWD, right? Doug, come on, man. Seriously, look after your own citizens and your own problems. Yes, I'm in BC, and you're saying, oh, you're in your own jurisdiction. You should be focusing on BC. Oh, I am.
And we do. Yeah.
I'm also looking at you though, Doug. You need to look after your PWD, because as an advocate, I don't just advocate for BC. I advocate for my other fellow PWD allies and my other PWD and other allies, which are their family, their caregivers, their doctors, their nurses, practitioners, you name it, mothers, fathers, grandparents.
The original name of your show, Brent, used to be Canadians with Disabilities and their allies. Canadians with Disabilities.
Canadians. See, that's why I'm saying this right now, everyone, is that we all come together in our own way of advocating. And I want to see every premier start focusing on the well-being of your own citizens in your own province. Nobody should be living in legislative poverty in Canada, period. Exclamation mark, 10 exclamation marks. So we need to fix this. But Doug, like OW, I mean, come on, like looking at that, 2018, no increase, $733 per person on OW. Tell me, sir, where can you rent a place for $733? That's their full check.
Yeah.
That's their full check. And how about PWD, ODSP? What is it, $1,358? I think some people.
The entire thing,
The whole thing. Yeah. Same as in BC, your whole check. I know there was a misconception that a lot of people think that the shelter again.
A lot of people think we get free rents. Yeah.
They think that's on top of. They think that $1,358 is actually just their living allowance for all their bills, and that the rent's on top. Nope, all inclusive. Same in BC, every province. And now we're waiting on the CDB. Oh, whatever.
That'll be another nothing burger, Brent. Another zero.
Now I heard the federal government talking about a basic income. Wow.
Yeah.
I know Joseph's been posting about that just recently. I'd love to get Joseph on the show and talk about what's happening.
Yeah, we should punch out, Brent, because we've actually gone overtime as usual. We go
as
overtime.
usual.
But
that's interesting show is everybody.
I hope everybody enjoyed the show about nothing, though. We basically spent the whole hour talking about nothing, and
we just talked about nothing, and it was just stuff that was really general things that affect people's lives in general. And I look out for just the best interest overall for trying to better people's lives. I don't have the answers, and I don't pretend to have the answers for everything. And that's what advocating is about, is to learn from other people. But I also advocate for what I do know, and that is about our transportation networks not being stranded in a community because you can't get anywhere. Then you feel isolated, right? You feel like you can't go anywhere. You're trying to rent somewhere, and then you get doors closed in your face saying, well, I guess that one was cheap, but I guess you can't get that one. So you feel isolated, that you're stuck where you are. It doesn't have to be that way in society. We should be able to interchangeable, be able to go places, go to other provinces. I mean, autonomy wise, I mean, make that decision, but based on what your needs are, not with what the government says. Anyway, I'm going to rant and rave, so I'm going to say thanks, everyone.
This is almost like a podcast number 2, isn't it?
Yeah, it almost. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. When I started the show, I was like 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. When I went
nothing.
Nothing. That was what zero means. And people who watch The Big Short, they're going to wonder, where does he get that line from? Zero. It's a 0% chance. Yeah.
So you're saying there's a chance?
Yeah. Did you cut your own hair? I love that. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Take care.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.